Now, we are supposed to do a break here, but we have Dr. Noel Hacegaba, who is the Chief Operating Officer of the Port of Long Beach, and he is here. And I want to get him in here. And then what we will do is we'll break for a couple of minutes after Noel. So, good afternoon, Noel. I want to thank you for being here. And you and I have been talking a lot the last couple of weeks. The issue of, we've talked a lot about where the ports are in terms of a number of issues, but clearly zero emissions and marine fuels is one of them. We talked about the IMO decision to pause the implementation of zero emissions. So on that note, I'd like to have you come in and introduce yourself and give us your presentation.
Well, thank you very much, Stas. And let me just thank you and the Propeller Club of Northern California. I believe this is the first time I've addressed that Propeller Club. And I know for sure this is the first time I'll be addressing the Society of American Military Engineers. It's a pleasure to be with you all. Stas, thank you for the kind invitation. And I see some colleagues and friends like my good friend Christine Zortman, who's on as well. So it's great to reconnect. So as Stas said, and I've got a slide deck that I'm happy to share with all of you post-presentation, to do a bit of scene setting. I'm sure all of you are aware of the action taken by IMO just recently, where they decided to postpone a vote on a net zero framework. And this was not the plan. If you recall, just a couple of years ago, there was a lot of activity and momentum behind the IMO's action then to get the maritime industry to zero emissions, net zero carbon emissions by the year 2050. And so this was going to be a pivotal vote to keep that momentum and basically arrive at an international framework. And for those of you who missed it, in October of 2025, just last month, the IMO decided to postpone a vote on its net zero framework for decarbonizing shipping. And that's what would have set global regulations for emissions. And the delay was a result of intense pressure, including threats of tariffs, and ultimately passed with 57 votes in favor of postponement, 49 against, and 21 abstentions. And so just to kind of give you the full story, critics argue this delays the transition to clean shipping, makes it more costly, and creates uncertainty for the industry, while proponents suggest more time is needed for negotiations and to build consensus. So just 2 years before, this was a headline then, the IMO declaring this victory, right, with net zero by 2050. And what a difference a year makes, right, from where we were back then to just last month. But this development at the IMO, I would argue, makes subnational collaboration and efforts along those lines even more important to keep the momentum going forward. And so for the Port of Long Beach, this is nothing new. We've been at this for about 20 years, trying to decarbonize the industry, reduce emissions, and try to do our part to transform the global supply chain culture to get us there. And thankfully, in recent years, there's been a lot of support nationally here in California through CAPA and across the globe as well. So we're not letting IMO's decision stop us from what we've already been doing. And this is what I'd like to share with all of you today. So let me start with this. You may have heard of this. We've got some green shipping corridors. There are others around the globe, but these are the two major ones in the Trans-Pacific. In the last 4 years, Port of Long Beach has partnered with the Port of Los Angeles and two different ports across the Pacific, Shanghai and Singapore. And as you all know, these are major ports in Asia. So by having this framework, you've got the two largest ports in the US and some of the major ports in Asia. We've done a lot of work to reduce emissions, leading the industry with initiatives like our Green Port Policy and then the San Pedro Bay Ports Cleaner Action Plan. And the reason this is important is because this is a continuation of the work we've done over the last couple of decades in reducing emissions from trucks, from cargo handling equipment, the use of shore power. But our toolbox is limited when it comes to our largest source of emissions, and that's ocean-going vessels, as you all know. And that's why, taking what we learned here about promoting sustainable operations, the Port of Long Beach has partnered with some of the busiest ports to create these green shipping corridors. These green shipping corridors have a very clear goal, and that is to decarbonize shipping routes between our respective ports. And to do that, we need low and no carbon marine fuels, many of which are only now beginning to be deployed. And so, to better understand these new fuels, just last year, late last year, we commissioned a white paper that looked at the environmental benefits of these fuels and the opportunities and barriers to future deployment. This white paper also contains recommendations on how the port and others might help advance the clean marine fuels market. So in short, we are taking steps to lead with action and continue the conversation around clean marine fuels. And I've included on this slide the link to our website where you can access this white paper. Stas has read it and he's covered it in American Journal of Transportation. He did a great job, but want to make sure that all of you have access to this. I think you'll find it a very interesting read. It's the first of its kind. And again, it was commissioned to be an educational resource within the Green Shipping Corridor, but we wanted to make it widely available as well. So this is what it says. In a nutshell, it's intended to prepare and position the port and our stakeholders for adopting low carbon alternative fuels. It provides high level information on the array currently available, along with an exploration of the potential infrastructure needs for their deployment. And this is what this white paper looked at: 5 marine fuels that are being considered currently to be low carbon or cleaner than conventional fuels. And the 5 are what you see here on the slide: green hydrogen, green methanol, green ammonia, renewable LNG, and biofuels. These are the 5 clean fuels that this white paper looked at. Many of these fuels need consistent sources of renewable energy or organic waste materials called feedstocks for their production. And there are pros and cons to each of these fuels currently, and they each are in different stages of commercialization and usage in the industry. And this is why this white paper is helpful, because it puts all these different alternatives against each other to see where they are and at what stage. Now, thankfully, a number of shipping lines have already set goals to reduce emissions, to decarbonize their operations, and to use clean marine fuels. For example, MSC, Maersk, and Carnival, and Wallenius, they have all presented opportunities to advance their own goals for green corridors and clean marine fuels. And it comes down to partnerships and collaboration with the ocean carriers themselves to really move the needle and get us to this decarbonization goal that we're pursuing. The Port of Long Beach is collaborating with the ports of LA, as I mentioned, to develop a San Pedro Bay Ports methanol bunkering pilot project. So as part of our green shipping corridors, we're already taking that course. We're surveying the market right now to see how much interest there is in having a methanol bunkering pilot project. Some of you may be aware that just in the last couple of years, there have been 2 calls of Maersk's methanol powered ship. And by having a methanol produced here and available for bunkering, it's that kind of infrastructure that we think could enable more of those calls here to our complex. In addition to that, there was a request for information that was recently issued for the project, which aims to demonstrate that methanol bunkering can be conducted safely and efficiently at a major U.S. port, in addition to demonstrating market readiness. I would also add that at the Port of Long Beach, we also, in the last 2 months, released an RFP, a request for proposals, for a hydrogen fueling operation. It's a very small site. We're talking about 2 acres, but we put that out there to see where the market is and how much interest we might get to explore that as well. So let's talk about the challenges. This is the title that Stas gave it, which I think is very relevant and timely. There are a number of challenges with the transition to cleaner marine fuels. For one, clean marine fuels are significantly more expensive than conventional ones due to high production costs, early stage market development. On the technology side, engines and systems for fuels like hydrogen and ammonia, for example, are still under development. And we need to find ways to address such as methane slip, in which methane, a potent greenhouse gas, is released inadvertently during the LNG storage and bunkering. There's also very little fuel availability today. We don't have production capacity locally, and we're facing the classic chicken and egg scenario. Fuel providers need to see demand from shipping lines to invest in clean fuel production, but shipping lines are reluctant to make commitments until fuels are available. And we don't have the infrastructure today to support clean fuels bunkering, storage, and distribution. Lastly, on the regulatory front, as I mentioned earlier, there's inadequate alignment between international, regional, and local regulations, which complicates operational planning for shipping companies that call ports all over the world. So there's no doubt that a global framework would have been helpful and useful for the shipping industry to work its way towards decarbonization. As that's on hold for now, what we're doing here in Long Beach, along with our partners in Shanghai, Singapore, and Los Angeles, and C40 cities, is that we intend to carry forward with our plans for our green shipping corridors, in which we work collaboratively to achieve low and zero carbon shipping on two of the major trade routes in the Trans-Pacific. So, in summary, to solve these challenges, we need collaboration across multiple entities, each with their own role to play. Ports, shipping lines, fuel producers and suppliers, regulators and policymakers, and certainly technology developers as well. So for those of you who might be curious, so what is the port's role in shipping decarbonization? There are four things that we view as our role as a port authority. One is to facilitate the availability of fuel by supporting the infrastructure for bunkering. Secondly, we need to continue to support shore power. Thankfully, here in Southern California, both ports, Long Beach and Los Angeles, are pretty much all of our container terminals are shore power ready. And we're now making shore power available to some of the other carriers as well. We also provide incentives and rates for alternative fuel adoption to incentivize the use of that. And finally, which is probably the most important thing, is collaboration, collaborating with the shipping lines and suppliers to continue to support decarbonization. It's really the shipping lines, their decision to invest and to join us on this quest that's going to make the biggest difference. I also want to leave you with some recommendations, and you'll see a lot of these in this white paper that we commissioned recently. We've identified several of these recommendations to help advance clean fuels. For example, market-based mechanisms for clean marine fuels. The cost right now is sky high. So looking for ways to bring some of those costs down would be important. I already mentioned on some of the green ship incentive programs. Happy to share what we've done in recent years on the green ship incentive side, offering incentives to our ocean carriers to deploy some of these cleaner and multi-fuel use vessels. Fueling infrastructure is paramount. They need a place to refuel while they're here on their call. Technology demonstration is vitally important in our experience over the last 20 years. Pilot projects go a long way in testing and validating, especially when it comes to new fuel uses and technologies. And then the green shipping corridors. I would highly encourage all of you to consider exploring green shipping corridors. These are great ways to connect us to other ports overseas and bring alignment between the port authorities, the ocean carriers, the technology providers, and everyone in between that is going to be necessary to get us there. And of course, as we all know here in California, streamlining the permit process is vitally important. Time is money, and time in many cases is our worst enemy. So to the extent that we can help streamline the permit process to get these pilot projects done, get the infrastructure installed and delivered is going to be important. And then finally, of course, it takes a lot of green to go green, as I like to say. So funding support is critically important as well. So in terms of next steps, here at the Port of Long Beach, we're going to continue our feasibility assessments. We're going to continue to strengthen our partnerships with our Port Authority partners overseas and with all of the ocean carriers. And we're going to continue down the line of technology demonstrations. That RFI and the RFP that we recently put out is going to give us a good sense of where the market is today and where we think the market is headed to see how quickly we can continue to implement some of these recommendations. And finally, policy advocacy. That's a big one as well. What happened at the IMO, what is happening in DC, what is happening in Sacramento is vitally important because that's what shapes this operating environment that we're in. And with that, Stas, I know you guys are running a little behind. I wanted to be economical with my words to help get you back on time, but that in a nutshell is what I had prepared for you, and I hope it meets your expectations.
Noel, thank you very much. Would you email me the link to the white paper and I will distribute that to everybody?
Happy to do so, Stas. You got it.
Um, Second thing is, do you have a sense of new constructions, what trends there are in terms of methanol-powered container ships? We saw a slowdown starting with Maersk
Yeah.
that some of the methanol ships that they were going to order, they switched over to LNG. Oh,
Yeah.
can you give us a little bit of an overview of what's going on there?
Sure. So Costco, for example, they announced last year that they were investing in additional methanol-powered ships. But as you pointed out, some of the ocean carriers that were early adopters and were moving that direction have since course corrected in light of what's happening at the IMO. But we think, Stas, in order to keep the ocean carriers interested and motivated to continue to invest in some of these cleaner marine fuel vessels, it's making the infrastructure available, making the bunkering available. And this is why we're so intent on trying to accelerate the development and deployment of some of this bunkering infrastructure here at the port. But so far, Costco is still committed to methanol. We expect to see some methanol-powered ships in the next year. And we are in a race, literally, to try to get methanol bunkering here so that those ships continue to call on a more consistent basis.
Very good. Are there any questions of Dr. Hacegaba? Going once, going twice. Okay, Noel, thank you very, very much. One thing, if you could send us your slides so that we could include that in the presentation and distribute that to our participants.
I'll be happy to do that, Stas. Thanks again for the invite. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you very much, Noel.